On this episode of Murder by Mommy, we are going to discuss two mothers who, between the two of them, murdered five children, injured two children, and killed one father. Isabel Martinez and Esther Calles. At some point, we're going to have to talk about mental health, parenting, and what seems to be going wrong. Because unfortunately, this type of crime, which is known as filicide or filicide, is not uncommon. Filicide is when a parent murders a child. Isabel Martinez, who was 35 on July 6, 2017, decided to do the unthinkable as her family slept in their beds. Martinez woke in the middle of the night and took a knife from the kitchen and killed four of her children, one after another, although she actually tried to kill all five, but one survived. Their father, Martin, woke up and tried to stop Martinez, but he too was killed in the struggle. Martinez then placed her dead family members' bodies in the same room so they could be together. Keep in mind, her 9-year-old daughter wasn't actually dead and instead was possibly playing dead while she laid next to her deceased brothers and sisters, probably hoping they were playing dead as well. Isabel then started cutting herself before dialing 911 to report their deaths. In the beginning of the investigation, Isabel Martinez told a caseworker the killings were the work of a family friend and maintained her innocence. This right here makes me question everything. Like, if she was mentally insane, why is she trying to cut herself to cover up what happened and trying to blame it on someone else? But I am no law expert, you let me know. As you can see on the screen, this is a picture of Diana, the child who survived. Gwinnett County Police Captain Michelle Farah confirmed that the 911 call came from a woman who was inside the home at 4:47 a.m. The caller reported a stabbing. Police believe Martinez made that call. Farah said the caller was speaking Spanish, which initially made it difficult for 911 operators to communicate with her. Eventually, Isabel Martinez pled guilty but mentally ill to 5 counts of murder, 1 count of aggravated assault, and 1 charge of cruelty to children for her heinous crimes. She was given 5 life sentences, which she will serve in a state rehabilitation facility to be treated for her mental illnesses. She admitted to the court that she butchered her husband, Martin Romero, who was 33, and 4 of their children. Isabel Martinez, 10 years old, Dakota Romero, 7 years old, Dylan Romero, 4 years old, and 2-year-old Axel Romero. She also injured another of her children in the attack, who was 9 years old at the time, named Diana. Diana later told police how she watched in horror as her mother killed her family one by one. I truly hope this little girl is still in counseling, and I hope that she stays in counseling because she is going to need it. As of now, Diana is currently living with an uncle, and like I said, I hope she is getting the help that she needs. Diana said Martinez told each of the children they were going to the sky to see Jesus before turning the blade and stabbing them multiple times. All of this happened in the early morning hours in a relatively quiet suburban Atlanta mobile home. During the investigation, it was learned that Martinez suffers from schizophrenia, is said to have had long struggles with mental health problems such as depression and erratic mood swings. But after the death of her father 2 years before the murders, her mental temperament drastically declined. Several family members were present in the courtroom to witness the 35-year-old's plea. None of the family spoke. Martinez is now detained in a state facility where she'll receive treatment for her various mental health issues. Prosecutors say it's the severity of her mental state that stopped them from pursuing the death sentence. There was no way she was going to be found guilty of these murders, Gwinnett District Attorney Danny Porter said. I believe guilty but mentally ill was the best outcome we could get. Martinez won't be eligible for parole for 30 years, but it is unlikely she'll ever be released because of the nature of her crimes, prosecutors said. Her only surviving child, Diana, spent weeks in the hospital intensive care unit recovering from her stab wounds and, like I said, is now in the care of her uncle. The frightening extent of Martinez's mental health problems were laid bare in court the day after her arrest, where she exhibited an array of bizarre behaviors, which included posing with a double thumbs up, putting her hands in a prayer position, and spreading her arms out wide. She also shook her head no and wagged her finger at Gwinnett County Magistrate Judge Michael Thorpe, who advised her sharply not to perform for the cameras. He said, "Ma'am, I'm going to caution you to cut out the display for the cameras. It's really not a good idea, probably not to your benefit." Isabella said, "You are the hope of the world, each one of you." She said this in Spanish, appearing to address the news cameras. "It doesn't matter what color you are because God loves us all," she stated. Meanwhile, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement spokesman Brian Cox said in an email Friday that Martinez, whom he identified as Maria Isabel Gardunos Martinez, is from Mexico and entered the country illegally. This is her first encounter with immigration authorities, and it is unclear how long she has been in the U.S.
So, here's the first thing that I'm going to tell you, because I am probably the first defense attorney you've seen since you got arrested, and that is, do not talk to anyone about your case. I know there's a lot of distraction and there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but do not talk to anyone about your case. These people that you're in the courtroom with here, the people in the holding cell, the people in your pod, if you speak to them about your case, you create another witness for the state. And that person can be subpoenaed and brought back to testify against you at the time you have a trial. So don't think because they live in Mississippi or they've been extradited to California or they came here from Guatemala that they will not be available as a witness. Because the Gwinnett County DA's office will go and get them and bring them back to testify against you. And then if you lose the case, they'll make you pay for it as well. So do not talk to anyone about your case. Every phone call you make from this jail is recorded. When Judge Stork comes in here and turns on this recording, everything that you say in this courtroom
is a video that is still difficult to understand. Isabel Martinez, the stay-at-home mother accused of murdering her husband and children, acting bizarre and erratic in court.
Now, prosecutors are speaking only with 11 Alive tonight, giving us their reactions to the latest developments. And Ryan Kruger joins us now with more on the story. Ryan, they're telling you they've never seen a murder case like this one.
Yeah, that's right, Melissa. Of course, cases of parents killing their own kids, it's certainly rare, but a mass murder like this one, it's almost unheard of. Tonight, in an exclusive interview, I asked the Gwinnett County prosecutor handling this case, what's next in the investigation?
No, I haven't worked any case like this.
Gwinnett County's Deputy Chief Assistant District Attorney, Richard Vandiver, says he's never seen a crime so heinous in all his years as a prosecutor. A stay-at-home mother of 5, a loyal wife, accused of viciously stabbing her entire family, killing all of them except 9-year-old Diana Romero. Family members tell us the little girl still in ICU, but that she is recovering. Has there been any discussion about pushing for the death penalty in this case?
Way too early. There's a lot of information we've got to follow up on.
Friday, we learned Isabel Martinez is an undocumented immigrant here in the U.S. illegally. She's currently on hold for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. But Vandiver says she's not going anywhere.
If she is still in the custody of our jail, still in the custody of Gwinnett County, she will remain in our custody until she's either let out on bond or released from custody for whatever reason.
Of course, considering the charges she's facing, Martinez isn't likely to be receiving bond. If she is eventually tried and convicted, Vandiver says it's then up to the state and immigration to sort out what will happen to her.
And, ma'am, I'm going to caution you to cut out the display for the cameras. It's really not a good idea and probably not to your benefit.
Martinez displayed highly unusual behavior during her first court appearance Friday morning. Speaking through an interpreter, she told a judge that the people and her faith will be her attorneys.
I don't need an attorney.
You don't need an attorney.
No.
Well, I beg to disagree with you.
The judge says he'll let Martinez act as her own attorney, but he might appoint an attorney to offer guidance. Word of her unusual behavior spread to Vandiver, and he expects a motion from the defense questioning Martinez's mental health.
She'll be evaluated, and whatever comes out of that is how we would proceed.
And Gwinnett County Police told us today that Martinez's 9-year-old daughter, Diana Romero, is in ICU, but that she's awake, she's talking, that right now she is surrounded by her family, who right now have come in to try to take care of this.
And now, on to a more recent case that is very much still active. Esther Calles. Police say Esther Calles is facing a first-degree murder charge after shooting her 2 children at home in South Phoenix area. On September 27, 2021, Phoenix police said they responded to a shooting call at around 11:45 a.m. When officers showed up, they found a 2-year-old girl unresponsive with her mother, now identified as Esther Calles. A 6-year-old boy was also seen on the floor next to both of them, crying and bleeding from the head and torso. Esther then told officers that her kids needed help. One officer picked up the little girl and found that she was not breathing and did not have a pulse. Paperwork says the girl had blood extended from a gunshot to the chest. Officers did CPR on her while Phoenix Fire Department arrived. A check done on the boy showed gunshot wounds to his head, torso, and left arm. Esther was also bleeding from a gunshot wound to her left hand. Both children and Esther were taken to the hospital. The 2-year-old girl died at the hospital, police say. She was identified as Esperanza Isidro. Sorry if I mispronounced the names. Police said the 6-year-old boy remains in critical condition and he has not been identified. Police say during the course of their investigation, they learned the children's mother, Esther Calles, called her husband and another family member to tell them she just killed the kids. Investigators conducted a search warrant at the house where detectives found several .38 special cartridges, multiple bloodstains on the floor, the bed, and clothing of the children in the children's room. Multiple bullets were scattered throughout the house, and the revolver is believed to have been loaded with 6 cartridges, all that had been fired. During an interview, Esther said she was depressed and had been prescribed antidepressants. Her husband said he believes she was taking the medication every day. At Phoenix Police Headquarters, Esther acknowledged shooting her children and said she had intended to kill herself afterwards. Documents revealed that she planned to shoot herself but wasn't able to reload the gun, probably because her hand was already shot. Instead, she took the rest of her antidepressant pills in her prescription bottle and called her husband and her sister-in-law and told them what she'd done. She expected to be dead by the time they arrived, but obviously she was not. Paperwork says Esther did not call 911 to try to help any of her children, even though her son was alive and crying. Esther's husband and another family member are the ones who immediately called police and had them respond to the home. Phoenix police confirmed that officers were previously called to the home on September 14th of 2021 to conduct a welfare check after the father expressed concerns about the well-being of his wife and children. Police did not elaborate on what the concern was. The case is obviously still an active investigation, but I think there will be some sort of insanity defense. I will keep you all updated as more information is released. I do not have any information as to whether or not the husband and Esther were in an active marriage or whether or not they were separated. But I have a question for you guys. Let me know if you or someone you know has suffered from postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis, and whether or not you think it should be allowed as a defense in a crime that includes murder of children. The more and more I do researches on these cases, the more and more I see that there is a postpartum element. I just don't know how I feel about it being allowed to be used in a defense trial for murder of children. There has to be something better. I mean, this mother was actually taking pills and probably under the care of a psychiatrist. Her husband called the police about 2 weeks before this incident happened, and yet it still ended up the same exact way.
Please.
5/15/1987.
All right, thank you. You are here on a new case out of Superior Court. This is alleging 1 count of murder in the first degree. That is a Class 1 felony, and 1 count of attempted murder in the first degree, a Class 2 felony with an offense date of September 27, 2021. The Public Defender's Office has been appointed. Well, let's take the headphones away and see. I think it. Yeah, let's see if that helps. Yeah, that might have been it. All right. Ma'am, the Public Defender's Office has been appointed to represent you in this case. You do have a status conference October 5th at 10:30 a.m. with a preliminary hearing October 7th at 10:30 a.m. And those are both at 175 West Madison. Mr. Sammons, I know you are here if you want to make an appearance, and if you wanted to go ahead and make a record regarding release.
Thank you, Judge. This is Chris Sammons on behalf of the state. Judge, I don't have a whole lot to add to the Form 4 that I know the court has. The state is asking for a $2 million cash bond under the circumstances. That's based on the nature of the crime. As the court knows, the defendant is alleged to have shot both of her children. She's alleged to have shot her 2-year-old daughter 2 times in the chest at close range, leading to her death. She also shot her son at least 3 times in this case. The latest information I have is that her son is in extremely critical condition currently, and they do not know if he's going to survive or not. The defendant also has a lack of ties to the community, Your Honor. Based on the information we have, she has no employment, nor has for some time. She does not own any property, and she does appear to have some family here, but we don't know how much. She is from Arizona. But based on all of the circumstances, Your Honor, we do believe that she is a danger to the community and herself. We believe a $2 million cash bond is appropriate in this case.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Calleos, you do not need to say anything at this time. You have the right to remain silent. You have just heard a request for a $2 million cash-only bail for you. I will give you an opportunity to say something with respect to release. Don't say anything about the offense since you do not have an attorney here representing you. Do you have anything that you would like to say with respect to release in this matter? All right, thank you. All right, I do agree with the state. This is an extremely serious case. At this time, you are facing 1 count of murder and possibly a 2nd count if your son does end up passing away, since he is currently in critical condition due to the wounds that he endured at your hand. So based on the serious nature of the charge and based on the allegations that were submitted in the Form 4, I do agree that you are an extreme danger to both yourself and others. And I will set bond in this matter in the amount of $2 million. That will be a cash-only appearance bond. In addition, if you do post bond and are released, you are not to return to the scene of the alleged offense or have any contact with any alleged victim, complainant, or witness, and you cannot possess any weapons. This information is going to be in the paperwork you receive at the close of this hearing. At this time, do you have any questions? No? All right. Mr. Sammons, anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, ma'am. You're done.
The Phoenix mom who police say confessed to shooting her 2 kids earlier this week, is out of the hospital and now booked into jail.
Her 2-year-old daughter died and her 6-year-old son is still in the hospital in critical condition. Kim Powell has the latest on this tragic story live from downtown outside the jail. Kim?
Yeah, Phoenix police say the 24-year-old mother admitted to shooting her 2 kids and then planned on turning the gun on herself, where she couldn't reload it. And tonight, that 6-year-old is still fighting for his life, but police tell us this is one of the hardest calls they can go on.
At this time, you are facing 1 count of murder and possibly a 2nd count if your son does end up passing away, since he is currently in critical condition due to the wounds that he endured at your hand.
24-year-old Esther Callejas appeared in front of a judge after being released from the hospital. According to court documents, she accidentally shot herself in the hand while trying to make sure the gun worked before shooting her 2 kids.
When they respond to a call like that, the first thing they have to do is put their emotions aside, put their feelings aside, and get to work.
When officers got to the house, Callejas was holding her 2-year-old daughter, Esperanza Isidro, who had been shot in the chest twice. She died at the hospital. Esperanza's 6-year-old brother was shot 3 times, including in the head. According to court paperwork, she told her kids she wanted them to go to heaven.
In this particular incident, during one of the 911 calls, our dispatcher was able to hear children crying in the background, and I can only imagine how heart-wrenching that was for our dispatcher.
Sergeant Ann Justice says the Phoenix Police Department has an employee assistance unit that helps officers on tragic calls like this one, and they keep in touch even after the adrenaline wears off.
Behind the badge, our officers are people. At the end of the day, they are people first, and they have human emotions. So, when that's happening, they're able to put that aside, they're able to get the job done. But then when reality hits them, it can hit them really hard.
Now, candles sit outside of the house as the neighborhood wraps their heads around this tragedy.
It's not normal to see a child shot. It's not normal to have to do CPR on a baby who was shot by a parent.
Now, the father of these kids called police on the 14th because he was worried about the well-being of his wife and kids, but she assured them that they were okay. Officers say they then learned that Callejas.
As always, share, subscribe, and like the video. Until next time, parting is such sweet sorrow.